Hi, everybody. Welcome to Friday's Focus on Finances. My name is Jamie Fleming, and today we're going to talk about some of the dumb things that are keeping you from becoming wealthy. Okay, so we know that most people would like to know how to become rich, yet many people make financial mistakes every day that keep them from becoming wealthy, or at least from building up a nice nest egg. Now, I talk about this because people have the perception when they see someone who's driving a nice car, living in a big house, they're assuming they're wealthy. And what might really be happening is that they may be generating a nice income from employment, wages, maybe their business, but is their rich lifestyle really just an expensive lifestyle? So we want to look at these things. I'm going to preface it by saying most of us have made many of the mistakes on this list, but being conscious of it will allow us to turn that around, because most of these are really fixable things that we can do and turn them around instead of working against us, working for us in creating the wealth. And so, what are the dumb things that get between you and wealth? These warnings will help you correct your financial mistakes and watch your bank and your investment accounts grow. So, it's probably not surprising that the first thing on the list is not having a planned budget, or as I like to refer to it, a spending plan. A spending plan really should be a no-brainer, but failing to create a spending plan is one of the most common financial mistakes people make. It sounds simple, but people play fast and loose with their money, then wonder why they never discover the secret of how to become wealthy. Without a spending plan, it is almost impossible to have control over your money and know where you're spending the majority of it. Without a spending plan, your money has no plan and will prevent you from building your finances up indefinitely. And I will tell you, this is regardless of income. I'm working with some high income folks now, and probably for them, this is even more important because money seeps out. And if you don't know where it's going, regardless of your income level, there are chances that you're overspending in certain areas. One client figured out the hard way that they accidentally paid $7,000, $8,000 in interest on a credit card just because they weren't paying attention, not because they didn't have the money to pay it off every month like they usually do. So another area is being reactive instead of proactive. We talk about this all the time. When you handle your money reactively rather than proactively, you're likely to make mistakes. If you want to know how to become wealthy, handle your money with sense of purpose and make it work for you rather than just spending indiscriminately. Right. One thing that keeps people from becoming wealthy is living reactively rather than intentionally. So go through life without knowing what money's purpose is for you will make it more likely that you will spend money in areas that actually aren't really that important to you. Another area is staying in a dead end job. The saying, a body at rest tends to stay at rest, applies to many things, including jobs. Most people avoid the time and trouble of a job search if they're already in a decent position, but that could end up being a big financial mistake. While it can be difficult to look for a new job when money's tight, consider ways to improve your career should be an ever-present thought. If you're working at a company that limits opportunity, you may be missing out on a chance to increase your salary and professional development over time. If you feel as if the company you work for will never allow you to progress, it may be worthwhile to start a job search on the side and look for an alternate option with more financial opportunity. I talk about this in my own situation where I took a salary job in my industry several years ago in my 20s because I wanted the experience of institutional investing. And this was a great way for me to do it. And I also thought, man, this is great. I don't have to worry about where the clients are going to come because I have a salary, and this is great. I went into it, though, as you may remember from past Focus on Finance talks, is that I was making less than my male counterparts simply because they had more experience. But after a year, when I proved that my experience brought in more revenue for our branch, I simply asked to be paid the same as my male counterparts. And when I was denied that, I had to look at my own situation and value my skill set. So that created really a situation for me to say, am I going to stay here in this job where clearly my talents and skills aren't valued the same? Or will I take those skill sets on the outside? And when I looked at what I did for that company in that same year, if I was working somewhere else on my own, then my compensation would have been 3 times what I was actually making in salary. Now, I'm not recommending you go and just be an entrepreneur because you have to want it. Being an entrepreneur is one of the hardest and best jobs I've ever done in my life, but not everybody's an entrepreneur. However, you don't have to be stuck in a salary job. I've helped clients negotiate higher salaries because they've wanted to move to a different area because they've maxed out their growth. So you have to look at opportunities. It is scary, but it's even scarier if you stay and then you don't end up getting all the opportunities financially that you really need over the long run. Another big area, common area, regardless of income, is not having an emergency reserve fund. If you want to avoid dumb financial mistakes, follow the old adage, save money for a rainy day. Okay, you'll never figure out how to become wealthy if you don't build an emergency fund and learn how to use it wisely. When people don't have at least a few $1,000s on hand, they tend to make bad financial decisions when an emergency happens. The emergency fund helps people make better decisions because of psychology, not because they pay their way out of the problem. Having an emergency reserve fund puts you in a mindset of having options. So you may think, I could use the emergency fund to pay this unexpected medical bill right now, or I can call the hospital and negotiate a payment plan so my emergency fund doesn't get depleted all at once. It's human nature for people who feel broke to make worse decisions than people who have a little extra cash on hand, even when that cash on hand isn't ultimately used to solve the problem. So it's interesting how just having that creates a sense of less stress, and that allows you to see what other options you have available to you. And that's part of the being proactive, not reactive as well. Another area is overpaying for necessities. Paying too much for necessities could be keeping you from building a tremendous amount of wealth in the long run. So, for instance, things like car, renter, or home insurance are absolutely necessary. But if you aren't shopping for not only the best rate, but for the best rate, then you could be needlessly spending more than you have to. Just make sure you're not sacrificing your coverages for a lower rate. So it's a you have to look at two sides of it. Make sure if someone's giving you a lower rate that they're not lowering your coverages as well, because you want to work with strong, stable companies who are working on your behalf. So if you actually happen to need the coverages, then they actually get paid out to you without hassles. So don't sacrifice coverage, but a lot of strong companies have the coverages that you need. They're more stable and they could save you a few $100s. So to avoid this financial mistake, take the time to do some research, reach out, see what will work best with your needs and your budget. Doing so could mean the difference between saving nothing every month and possibly saving a few $100s or more every month. Here's one that should be a no-brainer, but we talk about it because it is an issue, and that is living above your means. If you spend all your money on a lavish lifestyle, you won't discover how to become wealthy, even if you're not racking up debt. Okay, spending every penny you earn is one of the biggest financial mistakes, even for younger adults, because you don't get off to a sound financial start in life. So it doesn't matter how much you make from your job. If you're spending all of it, you're going to be in the same position as someone who's not making as much. Right? After young folks finish their formal education and find jobs that they truly enjoy, they really should strive to live a lifestyle that's below their means while paying off credit card bills and debts they accumulated while getting started. We work with young people all the time, and I have to say, I am happy to report that I'm getting younger and younger clients more often over the last 6 months. I have clients that are in their late 20s and early 30s. And I have to tell you, they're coming into new jobs, and they're coming into new jobs with a fairly high salary to start. And they're doing the right thing by coming to an advisor and a financial planner right in the get-go, even if they have debts, because what they're realizing is that they don't want to repeat the things that got them there, and they don't want to spend the more than beneficial salary that they're getting to start. So it's easy when people get out of school, they start jobs, they buy expensive cars, all these areas that keep them in debt. So these young clients that I'm working with now, I'm loving it because I know at the end of the day, they're going to be extremely comfortable financially. They'll be able to retire when they want to, and they don't even really know when they want to retire, but we put things in place as they get closer, they can fine tune and clarify, but they're putting monies away in their 401k plans, they're paying off their credit card debts, they're keeping any kind of car payment low, they're buying more practical cars, that kind of thing. That goes into the next area, and that is driving an expensive car. Your dream car might be fun to drive, but buying it could be a big financial mistake. That is, unless you've already learned how to become wealthy and have tens of thousands of dollars to spare, right? Driving a reliable, maybe even a gently used vehicle will help over buying the new Land Rover Sport that could cost you $699 a month in a lease payment, right? This saves you an awful lot of money over the long run if you can do this. And it also is one of the things that I see with people coming in who have a large car payment. They might not even be able to afford to buy a house because all this money is going out to this very expensive depreciating asset. We've had people come to the realization that having a large car payment is keeping them from traveling. So all these areas to look at, a vehicle is one of those areas that we really look at trying to help people become more practical until they reach a level of wealth that allows them to then not only buy that car that they want, but actually really enjoy it because they're saving for all their other goals. Another area is splurging on lavish vacations, right? Going to extended trips to Walt Disney World or luxurious cruises. These could all be huge financial mistakes in the long run if you are trying to become wealthy. One of the best parts of a vacation is the memories that you make, no matter where you are. So this is not to say you can't plan and save for your dream vacation, but it doesn't have to break the bank. And if you're vacationing in lieu of saving and investing, then it could come back to haunt you later on. So be methodical, plan ahead, put that in your spending budget so that you're saving for your financial goals as well as giving yourself a reward of a vacation. Another area is showering adults with holiday gifts. Have you ever felt the stress of buying the perfect holiday gift for all your family and friends? So lavish gift giving, or just gift giving in general, it doesn't have to be lavish, is not compatible with plans for becoming wealthy either, especially if the recipients are adults. Instead of falling prey to this annual financial mistake, think of changing the way you celebrate. Instead of buying a lot of gifts at Christmas for the adults in my family, we limit ourselves to more thoughtful small gifts, maybe even just a small stocking stuffer that means something, a family photo, something that can be enjoyed, not just something that's something you feel like you have to buy. And oftentimes we'll also pick a charity our family can contribute to together. So we'll pool our money together, we'll make a charitable contribution before the end of the year. And guess what? A lot of times that will help you on your taxes as well. When you do this, the money you don't spend on the unneeded gifts can be invested to build wealth as well. And for our family, the stress of buying gifts for all the adults is actually completely eliminated. Another area I see for my older clients is bailing out adult children. If you're an older adult and you have less time to figure out how to overcome these kinds of financial mistakes and become wealthy. You have less time to recover from financial mistakes before you hit your retirement years. For this reason, I highly recommend not quote unquote bailing out your adult children if they make their own financial mistakes with money that really is needed to finance your own future, right? They have more time to recover and get back on track before they reach their retirement. So the key here is looking at what was the financial mistake, and instead of bailing them out, give them the tools so that they don't make the same mistake again. And that could be working with an advisor, looking what happened and giving them a financial foundation so they don't keep coming back to you if they keep making the same mistake over and over. Another area I see a lot is paying high credit card interest rates, right? Credit card interest rates aren't written in stone, and you're making a big financial mistake if you think they are. You'll never get the hang of how to get wealthy if you're paying double-digit interests each month. And I see interest rates as high as 19%, 29%. It's actually quite remarkable that that high of interest rate can be charged. So consider transferring a high interest balance to a credit card with zero introductory APR to give you and yourself a period of time to pay off your debt interest free. But also, more importantly, look at the reasons you fell into the credit card trap so you don't end up in the same place again. This happens a lot. We see this with people, especially people that have had to file bankruptcy, and 3 to 5 years later, they're in the same credit card debt again. And the reason for that is that they didn't look at why they were in that situation, so they repeat the same mistakes. Another big one is giving in to what we call lifestyle creep. Right? It's tempting to increase your spending as your salary increases. This is referred to as lifestyle creep, and it's a huge financial mistake. Lifestyle creep can happen to anyone if measures aren't taken to avoid it. When your spending continues to increase with your income, it makes previously unnecessary purchase seem necessary, right? And now you have to, again, you have to fund this lifestyle that you've created for yourself. Some people spend more to keep up with friends, while others do it for the temporary high they get from an unnecessary shopping spree. The net result is that lifestyle creep robs you from being able to invest money for your future. So if you know anything about how to get wealthy, you know that investing is an important means to get there. Another big one is keeping up with the Joneses. Trying to keep up with the neighbors is an age-old financial mistake. In the age of social media, when others portray their lives as perfect on Facebook or Instagram, it can spark your desire to live like them, or what you perceive. But if it drains your bank account, you won't become wealthy trying to do this. There are a lot of people who purchase things they don't need and can't afford to impress people around them. It's a psychological problem that affects your finances dramatically. And you don't need a fancy car or that big house just to impress people or show off. There's nothing wrong with having nice things, but you have to make sure you can really afford it before acquiring them. The whole adage of don't go broke trying to look rich comes into play here. And we look at this all the time. And people come into me all the time as well saying, I don't understand how my neighbors are driving this car or this person could afford this house. And many times I have people come in and they do have a very expensive lifestyle, but they're not creating personal wealth. And that's where the problem is going to come into play. Another area that might be keeping you from creating wealth is having a single income stream. We live in what's called a gig economy now, and everyone has a talent. So you could be making a financial mistake if you're not capitalizing on your skills to make extra money. Not having multiple income flows is a mistake. To build wealth sustainability, you need to have income flowing in from different sources. Lacking multiple sources of income is often a handicap to strategically building one's wealth. You can sell craft items on Etsy, flip secondhand merchandise, drive rideshare company, walk dogs. Any of these things can bring extra money in and help you on the road to becoming wealthy, especially if you use those side gigs as your investment pool of money instead of using it as another spending source. Not taking advantage of all your employer's benefit is another area where people might be making financial mistakes. Big employers typically provide benefits like vacation time, health insurance, but you're making a financial mistake if you don't take advantage of their extended offerings. So for example, some companies pay for gym memberships or have employee assistance programs that offer free counseling sessions, referrals to childcare or elder care, even financial counseling and legal referrals. If you want to know how to become wealthy, find out your benefits and take advantage of them so you don't pay for the important services you could get for free or at dramatically reduced amounts. One of the things we do when people come in to work with us on the financial planning side is if they're working for an employer as a W-2 employee, we always have them gather their employer benefits or employee benefits, and we look at those for our clients so we can see what areas can we take advantage of. Many employers also have college assistance, tuition assistance programs that you could take advantage of. So you want to look to see where are the monies that are already available to you that you're just not taking advantage of. Another area, and recently a lot of referrals in this area, especially before things increase too much, is not refinancing your mortgage. Mortgage paperwork is a pain, I know, but if you're letting that dissuade you from some major savings, and you could be just paying more, literally tens of thousands of dollars more in interest. So not refinancing your mortgage is one of the biggest major financial mistakes people make. Many people don't identify and pursue new options to refinance their homes, and most buyers choose a lender primarily based on lowest interest rate for conventional 30-year mortgage. But what about your other outstanding debts like credit card debts, student loans, and car payments? If you're able to refinance your home at 2.8 or 2.75, even 3%, and you're paying double digits on your credit card, and you're paying 5.86% on your student loan, over time those interest rates build up. So there may be a way to combine those and make one single payment to pay off all your debts at a lower interest rate. This is one of the areas that we look at as well with our clients. We do a lot of cost analysis for our clients too, because you also want to look at, if you have a lump sum of money, I have clients that try to pay down their college loans faster, but in the meantime, they're not investing. And so you want to make sure that if you're able to leverage, if someone's paying 4.8% on a student loan and they can get 10% over on average over the next 10 to 20 years, then you're going to come out better investing that lump sum money and continuing to pay that student loan debt at the lower interest rate. So you want to look at balancing. You don't want to lose time in the investment market if there's a way for you to leverage your finances as well. Another area which may sound counterintuitive is refusing to reward yourself. Right? It sounds counterintuitive to splurge when you're trying to become wealthy, but occasionally rewarding yourself when you meet your financial goals can provide powerful motivation to avoid financial mistakes. Whether you're trying to pay off substantial student debt or finally getting around to building your emergency fund of 3 to 6 months of expenses, always saving with no indulgences can be demoralizing and it may keep you from staying motivated. So maybe you have a list of 5 financial goals you want to achieve and feel like it will take forever to accomplish them. If you reward yourself, I don't mean like go on a huge expensive vacation, but maybe you can get a massage every time you scratch something off the list, or get seats to a concert when those things open up again. You want to look at little splurges along the way that will help keep you motivated and heading in the right direction. But you want to use that list as the motivator. So use that list to cross it off, then reward yourself, but do it in a thoughtful and intentional way. This is one that many people have found themselves spending too much money on. I will admit, when I looked at this, I was guilty of this one as well, and that's keeping too many subscriptions. It's so easy to subscribe to apps, streaming services, shopping clubs, and various other services that you probably needed in the beginning but don't need ongoing. And this could be a huge financial mistake in the long run, as maybe you might forget to cancel them, which was something that I had to look at. And it was really freeing to go through and see, oh, I'm paying $4.99 for this iTunes things or this. And so it builds up. And if you're not using the service, then you're really just throwing money down the drain. So review your monthly recurring charges and see if there's any service you're not currently using. I mean, one of the things that happened to me is maybe you're on Netflix, but you still have Hulu subscription, so you're doubling up, or you signed up for a subscription or a channel because there was a documentary you wanted to watch, and then you watched it and you forgot to cancel it. So look at different ways to consolidate those subscriptions and make sure you're still using them. If you're not using them, go ahead and cancel them. I do this with clients that have gym memberships. I've had clients that have $150 a month gym memberships and they don't go. This is before the pandemic, right? And they don't go to the gym. And I show them what that $150 a month would look like over a 10-year period if they invested it. And instead, cancel the gym membership, but go for a run. If you're not using it, it's not serving you. So you want to keep that in mind. It's one of the biggest ways that people waste their monies. Not using financial apps is another financial mistake, because your phone makes it easy to spend money on apps, but instead of making that financial mistake, put apps to work for you. When you're thinking of how to become wealthy, saving apps belong in that plan. While the wave of new fintech startups have brought us a variety of apps on the market, they make your financial life a lot more manageable. Some apps round up your purchases to the nearest dollar and then seamlessly put the cents into your savings account. You don't feel like you're doing anything, but at the end of the month, you have a nice little chunk saved up. This is one of the best ways to just have a little amount going to your savings account. That Roundup app, it's one of the funnest ways too, because it's like what I used to do before all the online banking and debit cards and credit cards. I would come home at the end of the day and I'd have a jar of some sort that I'd put my extra change in. This kind of replaces that. So you can use that as a motivator and see how well you can do. Another huge, huge mistake is thinking it's too early to start saving. When you're in your 20s, retirement seems to be an eternity away. One of the most common financial mistakes is not starting to save in those early years and missing out on the compounding effect of interest. If you want to know how to become wealthy, interest over the long term is at the top of the list. Time is your ally when it comes to building wealth. The compounding effect of interest or returns on investments is increasingly impactful over time. Let me give you this example. Saving $500 a month starting at age 25 will yield approximately the same result as saving $1,000 a month starting 10 years later at 35. And usually, if you're not in the habit of saving, that $1,000 a month at 35 probably feels like a giant leap. So the earlier you start, the more time you have to let investments grow and compound, the better off you are and the easier it'll be. Another financial mistake is failing to invest at all. Investment sounds scary to many people, even though it's necessary when you're learning to become wealthy. You have to make your money work for you, and not knowing where to start in terms of investing is no excuse to make this mistake. I hear about so many people who don't invest because they don't know how. Many are scared to put money in the stock market. Not investing will keep you from retiring when you want to. It is the biggest barrier to true wealth. If you want to build real wealth, you have to learn how to invest your money. Even if you end up hiring a financial planner or advisor, you should still learn what investing means so you can understand it for yourself and be active in your wealth building. Another financial mistake is just making excuses. One of the biggest impediments when you are wondering how to become wealthy is making excuses when you know the steps you need to take. So procrastination is a huge one here. No matter what your income is or what your outgoings are, your attitude towards money will make one of the biggest differences as to whether you will save or not. If you keep making excuses as to why you're not saving money and why you're purchasing things the way you're doing it, you'll find it very difficult to get into the mental habit of saving money. If you're facing this financial mistake, please seek professional financial advice and get help with making a budget and a savings plan. I say this every single week. We offer a complimentary consultation. If you DM us or if you're on our YouTube channel, you can email us, you can text us. Get on the calendar for a consultation and at least get yourself moving in the right direction. All right, another area, clinging to old stuff, right? That treadmill you bought 5 Januaries ago does you no good as a clothes rack, right? Nor do the golf clubs that you have that's taking up space in your garage or outgrown kids' clothes stacked in the closet. It's a financial mistake not to turn unwanted items into easy cash, or simply organizing and not getting the clutter out of your house and opening it up so that you can accumulate all the positive things. People ignore what they're not using, right? When was the last time you purged your closet or your garage? Hosting a garage sale or selling these items can generate a lot of extra cash to do some of the things that you want to do, or even better, it'll generate cash for you to invest. So make sure you're looking. I told this to my kids. I had someone come in and help me organize not only my office, but because I've been working from home part-time because of the pandemic, I had them come in and help me organize my home office, which I've only been using since the pandemic, so over the last year. And even though it looks tidy, it's one of those things where if you don't see it and you're not using it, it just accumulates. And it might be something as simple as my iPhone box that I kept to make sure that I was going to keep the iPhone, or some of the other boxes of items that I keep in case I have to send it back. Those things accumulate. So getting rid of the clutter is going to help this situation, right? Huge financial mistake is stretching out credit card payments, right? Credit cards are a tempting way to buy big ticket items if you can't afford a lump sum payment. But if you want to know how to become wealthy, put that card away. Carrying credit card debt is a major financial mistake, especially going into retirement. It's one of the things. My mom came to one of my workshops over a decade ago, and she happened to come to the one where I was talking about credit card debt. And I said, if you go into retirement with credit card debt, you are going to be facing a lifetime of debt and financial struggle. And she took that to heart. And by the time she retired, she methodically put a plan in place. Didn't tell me until she was done. And it was such a huge reward for her to be able to do that, put a plan in place and get it done. And she went into retirement feeling a lot better about her situation. High interest debt makes it all but impossible to become wealthy. Warren Buffett, one of my favorite investment gurus of all time, got ahead in his early years, compounding gains at 20% year after year. For those who carry high interest debt, especially credit card debt, wealth is compounding negatively at around 20%. So you're going in the opposite direction. In other words, if you carry high interest debt, your net worth is declining at the same rate that made Warren Buffett one of the richest men in the world. So think about that. Letting your job skills get stagnant. Sought after skills are not static. So if you want to know how to become wealthy, keep your skills up to date. The key skills that companies are willing to pay high salaries to change all the time. That puts the requirement on you to learn these new skills. For example, learning more about software and programming can dramatically increase the salary you can ask for at your job. However, most people don't continue to learn and push themselves forward, and they don't continue to learn, and they also don't push themselves forward in terms of career development. That's a big financial mistake in terms of potential salary. To overcome this, ask yourself what skills will likely become important to your career over the next few years, then simply go out and learn them. Another big mistake I see a lot is blindly following financial advice. In the internet age, we are bombarded with a massive amount of information on how to become rich. Don't make the financial mistake of blindly following that advice. Media, commercials, ads are constantly feeding consumers financial information. However, this doesn't mean that information is accurate or true. Right? Marketers use psychological methods to cause people to believe what they are saying, which causes people to believe they need to spend money on items or services they may not necessarily need. If you want sound financial advice, turn to a professional to guide you away from financial mistakes. Again, I'm going to say it again, complimentary consultation, take advantage, right? The other area is undervaluing yourself. Many people are uncomfortable praising themselves when they're doing a good job, especially in the workplace. This is a huge financial mistake. A lot of us, particularly women, enter the workforce ill-equipped for salary negotiation and often give away our skill sets for less than they're worth. So forget about median salaries for your city and focus on what you are worth. Right? We create invisible boundaries all the time to earning more money at our jobs. No one is getting a raise this year I don't want to ruffle any feathers. We're downsizing. There's a ceiling for people in my title. Try to forget about these excuses and focus on only what you're bringing to the table. I use the example of the year I asked to simply be paid the same as my male counterparts, and I had a higher skill set than they did, or at least maybe not a higher skill set, but I brought in more revenue than both of them put together, and I was not rewarded for that. So that allows you to either undervalue yourself or make the decision that my skill set will be more valued somewhere else. And in my case, it was the hugest motivator to me wanting to start my own firm. Another area is not setting goals for yourself, right? You might claim to want to know how to become wealthy, but if you're not setting specific financial goals for yourself, you're making a big financial mistake. Lack of clear money wealth goals, as well as lack of clarity on how to achieve these goals, is a big problem. Without a clear wealth goal or a plan with actionable strategies, it's almost impossible to build one's wealth. We talk about this all the time. Be clear, be specific, give yourself a time frame so that you can have a way to monitor. We do this all the time in other areas. We do this when we want to lose weight. We do this when we want to start exercising. One of the things you want to do is take a current picture, right? Take a picture of your current financial self, put your goals in place, and then monitor. And when you look back a year later, if you do this, you will see improvement, and then you have something to compare it to. Not shopping around is another area that is very wasteful for people, especially if they wait to the last minute. One common financial mistake is to buy without looking to see what other competitors are doing. And it may seem very tedious to compare different shops and retailers before you purchase anything, but it's seriously worth doing if you want to start spending less and building up some savings. A lot of money can be saved on purchases that you needed to make anyway if you just take a little more time and effort to make sure you're getting the best possible prices. Comparing products can easily be done online now, and there's even a comparison website that will do it all for you. And so people, here's the other piece of that. People say all the time, I saved so much money when I bought this item this way. And I asked them, well, where did you save it? They kind of look at me glossed over, and really probably what they did is they just bought more stuff. So in this process, in this psychological process, when you save money by doing all this work, use that money that you saved and start putting it away, even if it's to start the emergency reserves fund at first. So that was about 30 different ways. The list could go on, but 30 very common ways that keep people from becoming their wealthiest self. And much of it is that slow boiling water, right? You don't feel it at the time. This is the thing we talk about with investing and creating wealth. It's the little things you do every day that create the most wealth at the end of the day. The reverse is also true. Many of the things on this list, they're the little things we do every day that over a long period of time keep us from attaining the wealth that we really want and need to be comfortable in our later years. So I hope that this was helpful in looking at your own situation. Take some time this weekend, look at the list and see what things are you doing on the list that are easily fixable. Change those around, have them work for you instead of against you, and you'll start seeing the wealth building. And then that gets very exciting, and that puts you on a different trajectory to having a more successful financial foundation. I hope you enjoyed this week's Focus on Finances. Again, my name is Jamie Fleming. We're available for complimentary consultations. Ask for help, ask questions, take yourself one step at a time and one step closer to where you want to be financially, and have a great weekend. I will see you all next week on Friday's Focus on Finances. Bye, everybody.